First item we have is a request for bill introductions. I have a bill 24 RS 3465, has to do with the deferred maintenance at our universities. Without objection, I'll accept that. Anyone else have any bills? Seeing none, we'll start out with a hearing on House Bill 2760, establishing the Kansas Officer of Veterans Services and updating references and corresponding changes related to the transfer of powers and duties from the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office to the Kansas Office of Veterans Services. We'll start out with a staff overview with David Weiss, Office of Revisers of Statute. David, welcome committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, committee. House Bill 2760 will establish the Kansas Office of Veterans Services and transfer the powers and duties of the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs to the new office of Kansas Office of Veterans Services. So it looks like I know there looks like there's a lot in this bill, but really the key is this new sections 1, 2, and 3 at the beginning of the bill, where new section 1 abolishes the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office and transfers all of its powers, duties, and functions to the Kansas Office of Veterans Services and the Director of Kansas Office of Veterans Services. New section 2 establishes the Kansas Office of Veterans Services. It requires that the director of the office be a veteran and shall be confirmed by the Senate. New section 2 also states that the budgeting, purchasing, and management functions of the office will be administered by the director of the Kansas Office of Veterans Services, and the director would be appointed by the governor. Then new section 3 establishes the responsibilities of the Kansas Office of Veterans Services, including affording and furnishing to veterans and their families information, advice, direction, and assistance through the coordination of programs and services in the fields of education, health, vocational guidance, and placement, mental care, and economic security. And the remaining sections of the bill go through the existing statutes and really just to effectuate the name change from the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office to then update it to the new Kansas Office of Veterans Services. And then there are also some technical amendments to bring the statutes up to the current drafting practices. The bill would take effect on publication of the statute book July 1st, 2024. The House made no amendments to the bill and passed House Bill 2760 by a vote of 123-0 on February 20th, 2024. I can stay for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, David. Questions? Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your presentation. On page, I'm looking at supplemental here, it says that the KOVS, it would establish that within the executive branch of government. Where is that at now? If we're taking and doing away with one, starting a new one, is it under the executive branch now, or where's it located?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, it is.
Okay,
yes.
so it's just kind of
It's just changing the name and and then the new director, but it is still under the executive branch. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other question, Senator Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And David, this really is a name change. There's no change in the services that are being addressed under this Office of Veterans Affairs.
Yes. It's really just kind of changing the name of the agency, but it is still those services for veterans and their families.
Other questions? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So help me understand why we're making that change.
Well, I think I might leave that to the proponents of the bill. So,
okay.
Yeah.
See, there's a $18,000 fiscal note to change signage, and that's the reason for my question for why. So thank you.
Any other questions for David? Seeing none, thank you, David. Next, we'll have our proponents. Rob Light, excuse me, I wasn't sure how, Director of Operations for the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office. Rob, welcome to the committee.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity for letting us speak in support of House Bill 2760. To kind of get to address some of the questions initially, there is no change to our current mission, what the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs does. There will be absolutely no change to that. In fact, we believe this will enhance our services that we provide to our veterans and their eligible family members across the state, as it will create a common understanding of what we are and what our organization does. So from 1986 to 2014, our agency was a commission, but this body abolished that following the 2014 session. And we obviously no longer had a commission, and we had the director in the executive branch. So when they did that, they just add the word office to our name. So Kansas Commission of Veterans Affairs Office. And as a result, it doesn't really accurately reflect what we do in terms of supporting our veterans, and it causes confusion. As such, we're no longer governed by a commission, and HB 2760 would not change our mission to support our veterans at all. This bill would simply change our name. The agency goal is to provide information and advocacy to Kansas veterans and eligible family members to assist in obtaining federal and state benefits they have earned. Clarifying our agency's current mission will make the agency's purpose more identifiable with Kansas veterans and other state and federal stakeholders. We currently report directly to the governor's office and no longer have a commission, as I stated, and keeping the word commission in our title is unnecessary and often confusing. Also, the acronym KCVAO, which we're often called, is often shortened to KCVA, which is always confused with the Kansas City Veterans Affairs, which is a federal VA that's located in Kansas City. During our research of all the other states and territories that have a Veterans Affairs office, we're in line with their naming convention. Over 30 other states have the word departments in their name, 8 have the word office, 16 have veteran services, or 16 have Veterans Affairs, and 32 have veteran services. As was mentioned, this bill was introduced in the House on 8 February 24 and passed out 123-0 on the 20th of February. And in reference to the signage, for us to do this, we have to change our signs at 4 veteran cemeteries, our 19 field offices throughout the state, and our 2 veterans homes. So the biggest expense is really at the veteran cemeteries. You go into the cemetery, there's a large seal that has our name. We're looking at other ways. So the initial quote we got was $18,000 to replace all of them. But we're looking at other ways. Does it have to be a bronze material? We're working with the National Cemetery Association to figure out that. But we will pay with that with existing funds. We're not asking for any additional money. Finally, the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office requests to change the name as stated to Kansas Office of Veteran Services will make our veteran service representatives and the services we perform more recognizable to Kansas veterans and their family members. The improved recognition will enable our agency to maximize state and federal benefits with our veterans, family members, and stakeholders to improve their quality of life. We have talked to stakeholders. We have, like our VCAP members, which you'll hear about next. So we've talked to American Legion, we've talked to VFW, and we've had buy-in from every organization we've talked to, sir. Pending your questions.
Thank you, Rob. Questions? Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your presentation. You know, as I read this, was there any discussion about just naming it Kansas Veteran Services?
Sir, yes, sir. There was, we proposed name, yes, sir, there were. We had.
That's, if we're trying to do that, it just seems like that's a nice little step to make it simpler, easier, and just a thought. So.
Yes, sir. There was. We looked at, we provided, with the boss and talking to other organizations with the director, we provided 4 to 5 names, you know, just kind of us working in the back room around the water cooler as we came up with different names, and this was the name that we felt, the name that was chosen, sir.
So one of the options was what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your work on behalf of the veterans. I know you guys do a good job. There is confusion in my community when we say KCVAO. It's too many letters, and I think this does clarify. And there is going to be some expense, just like when we changed K-State Salina to that name. There's always going to be something of a rebranding expense, so I appreciate you guys looking. I think the bronze is nice inside the cemeteries, and I would love to see it there as an honor to our veterans. I had a quick question. It's a dumb question, really, but we said there's only a veteran may be appointed. Is there ever any confusion about, veteran status, National Guard versus Reserve versus active duty?
So can you ask the first part of that question? Mr. Chairman, could you please ask the first part of that question again?
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering if it says that only a veteran can be appointed and confirmed by the Senate to direct this.
Yes.
That's pretty cut and dry, right? I mean,
For the director's position, I haven't heard of there been any issue in terms of that person, whether they're a veteran or not. No, we do run into, there is a House bill out there right now that kind of clarify the definition of a veteran that's running through, that's in the building now, I guess, to kind of clean up and make our definition of a veteran consistent with federal definition of a veteran. But we haven't had an issue with the director, no, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Rob. Appreciate you being here today. Were there any opponents to this bill? Seeing none, any neutrals? Committee, I would also point out that we have a letter from the Director of the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office, William Turner. Anyone else want to speak on this bill? Seeing none, we will close our hearing on House Bill 2760. Next, we'll open our hearing on House Bill 2623, updating the Veterans Claims Assistance Program to include references to Veterans Affairs medical centers and cross-accreditation requirements. We'll start out with a staff overview. David Weiss, Office of Revisor, Statute. David, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2623 would amend KSA 73-1234 to update the Veterans Claim Assistance Program to include Veterans Affairs medical centers and cross-accreditation requirements. Subsection E of that statute removes the requirement that trainings activities for Veterans Claim Assistance representatives shall be conducted by qualified trainers. Subsection F, 2A, states that the person to be cross-accredited shall provide proof to the Deputy Director of Veterans Services that such person has successfully completed the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs Office training, responsibility, involvement, and preparation of claims, otherwise known as the TRIP course or its equivalent. And then further in subsection F3A and F3B require that the Veterans Claims Assistance Program must agree to participate in one-stop Veterans Service Centers at the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs Regional Office or the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Wichita, and each Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Topeka and Leavenworth. And then finally, subsection F requires that the Veterans Claims Assistance Program have staff present at centers at the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs Regional Office or the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Wichita, and each of the Veterans Affairs Medical Centers in Topeka and Leavenworth. And then the bill also takes effect July 1st, 2024. There were no House amendments to 2623, and the bill was passed by the House 119-0 on February 22nd, 2024. And I can stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for David? Seeing none, thank you, David. Thank you. Next, we will have proponents for the bill. Eric Roletter, Deputy Director of the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs Office. Eric, welcome committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, really appreciate the opportunity to stand before you today on behalf of 2623. You have my testimony. I'm not going to read. I'm just going to kind of give you a breakdown of again, much like the previous bill, nothing really changes. We've cleaned up the wording and the language. When the Dole VA Medical Center in Wichita was built, the regional office was attached to it. Nobody ever thought that they would ever separate. When this law was written, guess what? The Dole Medical Center ran out of space. They needed the regional office to move out. So the federal VA found a spot out in eastern Wichita at the old Ruffin building, the old Pizza Hut headquarters building on East Douglas. That's where the regional office is now. Well, as you can read in 73-1234, yeah, it doesn't say anything. It doesn't take into account for that. And what it says is that the VCAP, the Veterans Claims Assistance Program partners, must be in the hospital or the regional office co-located with the hospital. So this kind of cleans that up so that all of our regulations and the contract that we provide with the American Legion of VFW, so we can do that on the basis of statutorily with the law. So again, nothing has changed. We did clean up some wording again when this bill was written about the training piece. The only trainers out there that trained our veteran service representatives was the NACVSO, or the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers. And since then, there's about 6 or 7 different organizations that really do a good job of training, and we have selected for the last 5 years the National Veteran Legal Service Program to come in and do our training. They're accepted and recognized by the federal VA as accredited trainers to do our continuing education credits for our veteran service representatives. And so we utilize them and don't utilize, again, the NACVSO. So basically it's up to me, the program chair of the VCAP, to kind of decide which training we use every year. And we go out and, we try and find the one that's best for our money and our organization. And then I think the other piece I want to say is that this came out of the Veterans and Military Committee, where we initially submitted it, and we had, as of right now, the veteran service organizations that take part in the grant are the American Legion of VFW, and they both stood with us and gave proponent testimony for that. But it's real simple. Again, name change, pending any of your questions. That's all I have.
Thank you, Eric. Questions? Senator Pittman.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. And when we talk about VCARs, the Veterans Claims Assistant Representatives, those are the individuals at the American Legion that are helping folks, right? Am I getting that right?
That's correct. Is that what we called them? They're VSRs is what they are.
Okay.
So Veteran Service Representatives. So too many acronyms. The VSOs, the Veteran Service Organizations, in most states call them VSOs, or Veteran Service Officers. We chose, us and 6 other states choose to call them Veteran Service Representatives.
They're the ones that are helping veterans at these facilities go through their claim process and figure out the good things that they can get.
Yes.
Benefits, right? And then we're modifying it again and specifying very specific locations. Was there a reason you didn't just kind of make some kind of a generic, if there's a VA location that you can choose to have those officers there instead of naming them, location by location in place?
Mr. Chair, so we actually did run that past the service organizations and kind of got their take on it as well prior to writing the update. So some of you may know that we submitted last year a request for additional funds to put in here, and again this year. So if it is all approved, then it'll be up to $1 million that's divided between all service organizations that choose to participate. So with that, we're not mandating that they have a specific number of veteran service reps, but that they are located in these 3. Again, I'd like to say that Leavenworth, Topeka, or Wichita is not going to shut down, but you're absolutely correct. If you want to submit some type of amendment, great, but or we can address it at that time.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any opponents to the bill? Seeing none, neutral? Seeing none, okay. Committee, we'll close our hearing on House Bill 2623, and Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we're going to work the bill now, I would move the contents of House Bill 2623 be added to the contents of House Bill 2760, and the committee recommend House Bill 2760 favorably for passage as amended.
I have a motion and a second by Senator Fagg. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Committee, that is all we had for today. We are adjourned. Thank you. Wait, excuse me. We want to go ahead and pass this out.
That was a motion to pass it out.
All right.
Yeah. It was as amended. Yeah. It was all a single motion.
Okay.
Efficient.
Okay. Okay, we did pass it out. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.